Welcome back to The Dot, presented by Matt Bowers Auto Group. I'm Brooke Kirchhoffer alongside Nick Underhill. The Saints just finished up their 13th practice. We're at that point now in training camp where it's time to see them get on the field and hit somebody else. Of course, the first preseason game is going to be this Sunday. They will practice in the Dome Friday, then have a walkthrough Saturday, and then we'll finally get to see them line up against somebody else. And something that was interesting to me that Dennis Allen said in post-practice interviews is that he hasn't really maybe reached out to Andy Reid or doesn't expect it to them to talk about starters and how much they will play in this first preseason game.
Yeah, the preseason's so weird now.
Yeah.
I kind of used to follow a formula and everybody kind of did the same thing. That third preseason game was always the one. And now everybody's kind of on a different agenda. And Sean Payton would talk about all the time, oh, I called Andy, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And they would kind of be on the same page. DA kind of said today, like, now we're going to do our own thing, which does kind of make sense, though, because they might need to get done what they need to get done. The Chiefs might have something else planned for their team, and then the Saints have their joint practices. So they're going to get their starters out there. Whether we see Pat Mahomes or not is, to be determined. But yeah, it's kind of fascinating just how that's kind of like all up in the air now.
I think it's a good benchmark too, of course, hosting the reigning Super Bowl champs for that first game. And if any of the starters on the field, we're really going to get to learn more about some of the guys that are on this team that are trying to make a push to make the 53-man roster. One of those guys, Bryan Edwards, who flashed today in camp. He had a ton of contested catches in one-on-one. He just looked more comfortable in the offense, which we haven't seen so far in camp.
He was like the guy that I thought was going to come in here and maybe push Tre'Quan Smith off the roster, and then we just didn't see a whole lot of him. And it seemed like he was a little bit out of sorts at times throughout camp, wasn't quite himself, and now we're seeing that. Like, when you watched him with the Raiders, like, he was a good contested catch guy. He blocked pretty well. Today was the first time we saw any of that, so maybe there is more battle there at that wide receiver position than we thought. It kind of looked like Tre'Quan had blocked that down and ran away with it. Now he's hurt. Somebody else is stepping up. It's good to see. You want competition there, and if Tre'Quan's going to make the team, cool, but like make sure he's getting that push that he needs.
I was about to say it's more or less taking advantage of opportunities. Rashid Shaheed and Tre'Quan Smith were not at practice today, along with Demario Davis and a handful of other guys who we have mentioned are dealing with some soft tissue injuries. Quick update from today, Kirk Merritt left with tightness in his hamstring, and then Lonnie Johnson Jr. banged knees with another guy and then maybe had a little bit of cramping. They are actually going to evaluate him, as Dennis Allen mentioned. So we'll see if Lonnie Johnson is able to line up against the Chiefs on Sunday. But the plays of the day, and I say plays of the day because there were three that I think popped. I'll let you take the first one.
Well, I thought it was Bradley Roby. He had a really good pass breakup in 7-on-7s, and the most impressive thing about it is the play was like 5 or 6 seconds long, and he maintained in coverage for that amount of time. Just Derek Carr had nowhere to go with the ball, eventually threw it out, and then he makes a really good pass breakup in that spot. I think he is solidified as a slot corner. I don't even think it's a competition at this point. I think he's running well ahead of Ugo Amadi, and then Alante Taylor would maybe be the third option. But I think Bradley Roby has locked that one down.
That was my number one play, and the reason for that is because he stayed engaged in the play. He never gave up. I think you could maybe, if it was a 4 or 5 second count, that Derek Carr was scrambling around and Bradley Roby was still right there for the pass breakup. All right, the other play of the day that I'm ranking second under that was in 11-on-11 red zone. Foster Moreau, you talk about keeping a play alive. I can't remember the guy that was in coverage, but he kind of knocked the ball up and Foster Moreau just stayed with it. And the ball never hit the ground, and Foster Moreau was right there to catch it in the end zone for the touchdown. He spiked the ball. I love kind of seeing that energy from Foster Moreau. He celebrates every play so far in training camp.
No, he was definitely loud, and I think it was Ryan Connolly in coverage. But yeah, Moreau has been really impressive. I kind of had high hopes for him when they signed him, but I think he's been a little bit better than I thought he was going to be. Just another moment there, and it's just unbelievable. Every time you see him make a play, you just kind of remember what he overcame, how quickly he's gotten back on the field. He's going to contribute this year. Last one, I'm going to let you take this one away because you were more excited about it than me. But Malcolm Roach blowing up Kendre Miller on that run, probably the most high-intensity play we've seen so far in camp.
If you ever seen a man try and run through a brick wall, that's exactly what we saw. It was as soon as you saw him, it almost took the air out of the entire room in the indoor facility. That's honestly what we've been seeing, though, from this defensive line. We've seen those stiffs. Brian Brzee broke through a couple times. Of course, you can't hit the quarterback right now. That's one thing I'm going to be looking for is there going to be maybe a coaches meeting about quarterback hits in the first preseason game? Probably. They're not going to just let them go out there and act like it's, the first game of the regular season. But, man, this defensive line has proved this explosiveness. Dennis Allen has been talking about it all camp that he wanted to get guys who are maybe a little bit lighter that were quick off the line. They're proving that so far in camp.
Yeah, the line looked really good today, and I think it's just been a process going forward that they've just started to make more and more plays. Another good day for Carl Granderson. Brian Brzee had a really flashy play where he got through the line of scrimmage, back-to-back plays with Granderson. Peyton Turner's flashing again. So I think there's a lot of things to feel encouraged about right now. Got to see them in the game, but I like where they're at. I like how it's coming together. Isaiah Foskey's just kind of the guy that we're still kind of, like, you got to see a little bit more from him at this point.
Yeah, Dennis Allen made a really good description of what we've been maybe trying to say in broader terms. He said, I'm just waiting for the guy to cut it loose. And that's exactly what we've been saying on our show is it's not like that he's been bad. We just haven't really seen him yet. We haven't seen good or bad yet. He needs to cut it loose, as Dennis said.
I think there's probably been more bad than good, though. Every time I try to lock in on him, sometimes he's out too far wide. I've seen him give up too many runs by, like, trying to get around to the outside instead of kind of taking that straight path in. And then if you're not setting the edge there, like, you're opening up a run lane. So there's some things that he needs to do better. He won with a lot of athleticism at Notre Dame. I think he's just got to get more comfortable. DA alluded to that. Hopefully with time, you do see it. But right now in this moment, he's not someone that I got penciled in. Is someone I'm counting on to make a huge impact early in the season.
All right, let's give the fans what they've been waiting on. Marshawn Lattimore, Michael Thomas watch. The one thing I loved about this before we even get into the one-on-one period, I think they only went up against each other twice, is probably 4 or 5 reps into one-on-one, I see Michael Thomas walk up and he's like pointing his hand up at Marshawn, like, get the helmet on, let's go. And I'm like, I love that. The fact that he wants to go against the best corner, honestly, the best guy he could probably line up against in one-on-one drills, no matter what, across the board with the DBs, that he was like, let's go, let's do this. And I think it's because Michael Thomas knows that he can get closer to his best self going up against a guy like Marshawn Lattimore. Did he look like his best self today? I don't think so. I think Michael Thomas is still getting there, but Marshawn won one, Michael Thomas won one. Did we learn anything new about those two?
I don't know, but I like that where Mike's head's at because he's been going through kind of, it's been a little bit of a struggle against Marshawn for him, and he's dropping passes even, which is kind of maybe the most shocking thing about these practices because Mike has the best hands that I think I've ever seen. And I think that he could be in his head, but he's clearly not. Like, he's still competitive. I think he needs to know, hey, I got to beat this guy specifically. Like, I don't care about beating Paulson Adebo. I don't care about beating Alontae Taylor, Isaac Yiadom. I need to beat Marshawn to know that I'm Mike again. So he calls him out. He goes out there, gets the play. The media's kind of like, ooh, because he beat him pretty good at the top of that route on the slant. Best part about it for me is we're walking back. Marshawn looks over and he's like, man, shut up. Like, to the media. Comes back out, wins the next rep. But I love that whole setting, the competitiveness. Those two are at their best when they're going against one another. I'd like to see Mike win some more, though. I'm still confident he's going to be Mike at some point this season. But it has been a little bit slow going to this point.
Chris Olave is still Chris Olave. That's one thing we have learned every single practice. I don't think Chris Olave has taken a day off. He's maybe I think he's only dropped maybe 1 or 2 passes altogether, but they've been contested catches, somebody punching it out, or him not just getting a clean look on a throw. Chris Olave, to me, is going to be the one that gives defenses headaches so far in preseason. I'm really looking forward to seeing him going back to his hometown in California and seeing what he does against the Chargers. But man, does he look good. And he just keeps getting better with every practice.
He might be the best player on the team this year, like, by the time it's all said and done. And I think he needs to be the best player on offense for the Saints to be a good offense because that's just what he is. That's where he was drafted. You're a top 12 pick. You need to be that guy. He is definitely that guy right now. I said it in OTAs, like I was going to go out and just do a hostile takeover to get all the stock of him because I just think that's where he's heading. I think he's going to have a superstar season. I think him and Derek Carr look really good. They're connecting together. It seems like they're getting more and more chemistry as these practices go on. I'm excited to see what he does this year.
Yeah, I agree. Well, the Saints are going to be in the Superdome Friday. We talked to Dennis Allen about that too. A lot of it's going to be working on some things that we've already seen so far in camp. But the biggest thing is getting used to some of the new renovations and, of course, the new turf they put down. That, to me, is figuring out the cleats and things like that. But we will bring you all of the updates from the Superdome tomorrow.